Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive, high-stakes shift in the global semiconductor industry. Now, if you work in manufacturing, engineering, or supply chain management, you already know the pressure we're talking about. This isn't just about basic procurement anymore. It's a fundamental rethinking of how the modern world is actually built. So let's unpack exactly how and why this paradigm shift is happening right now.
So, what happens when your most important component is just no longer available? It's the exact terrifying scenario every engineering manager has had to confront recently. For decades, the semiconductor industry operated on a really simple assumption. If you needed high performance or precision, you defaulted to the single massive analog giants. Companies like TI, ADI, or Infineon were the absolute standard. But the past few years of supply chain disruptions have completely shattered that comfort zone, and it's forcing industries worldwide to ask themselves what they do when the well runs dry.
Think about it. When a critical IC suddenly stretches out to a 52-week lead time, it creates this devastating domino effect across the entire business. And the fallout definitely isn't contained to the procurement office. A single missing component means your production schedules literally grind to a halt. Suddenly, your revenue forecasts are missed, inventory planning is thrown into total chaos, product launches are delayed, and worst of all, customer commitments are broken. It is a complete system shock.
Section 1. From cost to resilience, shifting the global manufacturing mindset. Let's look at how industries are reacting to this crisis and how the conversation is shifting straight from procurement budgets to high-level boardroom strategy.
We are seeing a massive shift in the industry's mindset. In the old reality, finding an alternative supplier was mostly just a cost-saving exercise. You were basically trying to shave 10 or 20% off the bill of materials by relying on a default brand name. But in the new reality, the focus is no longer about pinching pennies, it's entirely about business continuity. Companies are actively diversifying their supply base, and it's being driven by pure resilience and risk mitigation.
And that brings us to the new golden rule. Companies across industrial, automation, medical electronics, and renewable energy are adopting the primary supplier plus a qualified alternative supplier model. It's a dual supplier baseline that's explicitly designed to guarantee continuous production. By deliberately moving away from single-source dependency, they're treating resilience not just as a nice-to-have, but as a core competitive advantage.
Section 2. Rise of Trusted Alternatives, the evolution of China's analog ecosystem. To make this dual supplier model a reality, global manufacturers are tapping into new, maturing ecosystems, which is putting a spotlight on companies like Cosine Nanoelectronics.
Now, naturally, when an engineering team is evaluating a brand new supplier, they don't just blindly trust a brochure, right? The biggest hurdle historically hasn't even been the technology, it's been trust. Engineers are going to look at a new analog IC and immediately ask the hard questions. Is this truly equivalent? Can it actually sustain large volume deliveries? And will it meet industrial standards without causing my board to fail?
To even be considered as a qualified alternative today, a supplier has to answer those doubts and hit some very specific marks. Pin-to-pin compatibility is absolutely huge, meaning the chip physically fits the exact same footprint on the circuit board, which saves weeks of layout work. You combine that with comparable electrical performance, industrial-grade reliability, and much faster delivery cycles, and you've completely changed the risk calculus for procurement teams.
And we aren't just talking about a handful of replacement parts here. Cosine Nanoelectronics, for example, now offers a massive portfolio of over 300 high-performance analog and mixed-signal ICs. Seeing that level of scale really highlights just how rapidly this alternative ecosystem has developed to support global demand across some very specialized sectors.
The breadth of technology being covered is really incredible. You've got robust communication interfaces like RS-485 and CAN bus transceivers. You've got the precision signal chain covered with zero drift and instrumentation amplifiers, plus vital power management with MOSFET and IGBT gate drivers. What this means is that an engineering team isn't just patching one isolated issue, they're finding a comprehensive partner capable of supporting complex, multi-layered product roadmaps.
Section 3. The golden rule of replacement, eliminating engineering redesign risk. Let's break down what all of these specifications actually mean in the real world.
Because for the engineers on the ground actually doing the work, the value of an alternative goes way beyond just a lower price tag. A truly successful replacement has to follow 3 critical rules: zero PCB redesign, zero major revalidation testing, and absolutely zero disruption to the production schedule. If a supplier can deliver on those 3 steps, they instantly turn what could be a massive supply chain crisis into a seamless transition.
As global manufacturing continuously diversifies across places like Southeast Asia, Latin America, and beyond, buyers are entirely rethinking their criteria. The next decade of the semiconductor market won't be defined merely by brand recognition or whoever is offering the absolute lowest price. Instead, buyers are prioritizing 5 pillars of trust: reliable performance, stable supply, completely transparent specifications, rigorous quality systems, and really fast, responsive technical support. Companies that provide these aren't just selling components anymore, they are literally selling peace of mind.
Which brings us to a powerful final thought. Because when supply chains have options, industries become stronger. The entire goal of seeking alternative semiconductors isn't just to swap out one vendor for another. It's to create a stronger, far more flexible ecosystem. Because true resilience begins with having a choice. So I want to leave you with a question to consider for your own operations. Is your supply chain built purely on habit, or is it genuinely built on resilience? Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this gave you a clear, structural understanding of today's evolving semiconductor landscape.